Today is a review for the Fitbit Charge 5 for the use of CrossFit training. And honestly, just don't buy it. You're still here? All right. I'll tell you why. Hey, what's up? It's the Figure Hunter, and today we have a review for the Fitbit Charge 5 for use in CrossFit training and then looking at all the wellness and things like that. So obviously I did not love this watch and would not recommend it for CrossFit, but I will tell you the things that I thought were positive about it, but the long list of things that I felt like were negative about it when doing an actually a little bit more in-depth of a training plan. I'm just returning from a conference in Austin, Texas. If you're ever in the area, CrossFit Central downtown is a great box to hit up. It was great to work out there. And I'm gonna sort of share some things. It was a really great time because I got really bad sleep and was up late eating bad food and drink. You know, I mean, it was just free-flowing in every way. So this really applies to some of the wellness aspects. But with that, what we're going to do today is we're going to basically do a summary of the watch, what you get for exercise and training, what you get for sleep and wellness, or wellness and recovery. And then we're going to talk about the things that I had issue with, the problems in each of those areas: the watch, exercise and training, and wellness and recovery. And then we'll come back together with a summary. So with that, let's dive into the new fancy watch. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing for more. There's a lot more things on the way. All right, so here it is. Here's the new Fitbit Charge 5 in the flesh. If you look at, the different aspects of it, so it does have an always on screen. That's what it's going to look like. You have a bunch of different watch faces. I don't love that there's not just one, like a big face without a bunch of weird sort of lines through it. But either way, this is the watch. It is very sleek. You don't have that bump that they used to have with the heart rate itself. The band is sort of a relatively the same type of band, heart rate monitor. It's relatively smaller. It's supposed to be considerably smaller than the Charge 4. This is the Charge 2. It's about the same width and about the same height. And then obviously you can see that it's significantly thinner. I think it's like 14% thinner than the Charge 2 and about the same as the Charge 3. But overall, just really sleek in overall design. The band is an interesting one. So this is the long band, which I found to be, I'm like on the last rung, which is kind of a pain. So you go through the band and then you snap it in place and you have to slide this, through there. So this extra, piece that goes between the band and your wrist will tighten the watch just a little bit more once it's on your wrist. The way, some of the same, basic things, it's only touch screen. You have your summary of things. It's 22% looks like, so it's basically targeting 2.5 to 3 days of battery life. I think, it's really spot on with like 2 3/4 of a day. So you can see your time and zones, you can see your hourly activity. This is just like, did you move through 250 steps an hour? Heart rate, sleep, you can go in, but no, you can't. You can't go in there and get sleep. Your last SpO2 rating of 97, so that's great. The SpO2 simply just puts on the screen. You can see a chart we'll see in a second. Exercise, how much exercise is. This is a summary of what you've done. And then you go up and you can get some of the other aspects, payment, sleep mode, water lock, and settings. So you can basically sort of control a lot of basic things there. And then you go to the right and you can do, this is where you go to the swipe to the left, actually, which means they kind of going to the right. It's where you get your basic information. So, symbol summary of things, exercise. You can put 5 exercises ready to go here. You click into one, it'll ask you to be ready. If you're ready to go, alarms, timers, EDA scan. This is where you hold it on both sides, and it'll sort of basically track your heart rate variability in that period of time to tell you if you're calm or stressed. Super simple. Nothing to see there, and that's the basic overall of the watch. Let's look at the basic overall of the, okay, so just a basic landing page. You get a summary of all your information here, and you can dive into any of these fields to look at just sort of the basics. There's not a whole lot more to it. You can actually, at the top left, you can access the device, so you can sort of change some of the settings, whether it's clock faces, apps, wallet. You can, obviously it's got Fitbit Pay. You can change your heart rate zones and wellness reminders and all that sort of stuff, which I would say you just turn them all off. But this is where it just has the simple summary of items. You can edit this at any point and you can move things around. And that's just the way the app basically functions. Okay, so basically when you're coming to fitness and training, you only have a couple of things to see on the watch. So you're basically gonna go into here, we're not even gonna start a workout. So you click on that, you say I'm ready to go, or you wait for GPS, whatever you're gonna do, and then it's got a few basic metrics, and then you turn it off and you get a workout summary, simple information on there. And then from a training, what you see in your long-term training, you basically just see your number of workouts. So you can't click into that, but you can see that you've exercised 4 out of 5 days this week, and that's pretty much it for what you see on the watch for training and exercise. So let's look at the app. Okay, so looking at just the exercise and training basically overall, you basically go into this exercise tab, and this is the summary of all your workouts in recent days. And here you can just see the basic things that it'll tell you. So time and heart rate zones, and the heart rate zones has a really unique calculation where it's like your max heart rate for your age and then a percentage. So basically take max heart rate and you minus your resting heart rate, and that's your heart rate reserve. And it's, you can go into this, learn more, and see a bunch of details on it, but it doesn't have a clearly defined heart rate zones that are very easy to see, and it won't tell you other than right here at the bottom. So 155, 127, 104. So that's what it's saying is peak cardio is in between 127, 155 and between 104 and 127. But that's how it calculates that, is a weird calculation. And then just the impact in generic form on the day. So that's the exercise and the way you can track your exercise. The overall training load is just basically how many workouts you've done this week. So that's the simple summary, or the basic summary for exercise and training on. Okay, so what you see for wellness, or what you can use the watch for or see in the watch for wellness, you can obviously do, the 3-minute EDA scan. And the EDA scan will tell you just your overall stress level right now. So tracking heart rate variability, it just is a one-shot little spot check. And then as far as overall wellness and recovery otherwise, I wish there was just a button just to go back. You would basically go in, you could see your overall health, just, and that sort of thing, but you can see your sleep, but oh, there it is. You get a sleep score down below it, and then you get your SpO2. So wellness-wise, you can only see your pulse ox and your overall sleep score in the watch itself. And let's look at the app, because that's where the rest of it lies. All right, so looking at the wellness and recovery, obviously there's sleep. So you can see your sleep. It just gives you average scores over periods of time, and you get, you could see if you nap, you get these scores, and that's where it shows you the basic summary. So you can see, like how you slept at some point, what time you were asleep, the deep in REM percentage, and the restoration. So it's a combination of sleeping heart rate and restlessness in sleep. So it gives you excellent scores. You get your scores, and then you know kind of where you're at for the day. And then you can go into the health metrics. So the health metrics is where you see, and all of these are just your averages per night over a weekly basis. So you can see your breaths per minute, your breathing rate. So it helps you to see if your heart rate variability is, if it's low, then that means you're unrecovered or not recovering. If it's higher, then that means you're getting better recovery, because your heart rate variability is up, which is a positive metric. Your temperature, there's a lot of different things you could look at for whether temperature is worthwhile. Oxygen saturation, so pulse ox. I would say this is actually coming in pretty accurate. It's relatively reasonable within those ranges based on what I've tested in the past. And then resting heart rate. So that's the summary of health metrics. So you have these two pieces. So you have sleep and you have health metrics, which shows you a period of time. Otherwise, you have sort of more generic things. But that's the summary of wellness and recovery. So there you have it. Really basically an overall simple platform, simple, basic functionality, pretty screen, nice compact size, basic, analytics on, sleep things and some of the new features that they have. But let's talk about what I found great issue with. So we're going to look again at the watch, the things I had issue with. We're going to look at the things on the exercise and training. And we're going to look at the wellness and recovery. This was a great week again because I did consistently work out and was able to get in the box and generic run and, sort of basic things like that we can see. And it also was really important for the wellness and recovery because I got terrible sleep. I had all my other watches because I'm testing a bunch of different like wellness and recovery type apps on the Apple Watch and Garmin. All of them were like, go to bed, you know, get some sleep, because we were up late, we were eating and drinking. It was just, you know, a perfect time to see if it would give me hardcore negative information like you are not doing well, and it did not. So all the different aspects we'll look at on the training side that I felt like were problematic, and all the aspects on the wellness and recovery side. So let's dive in. We're just going to look at the watch and exercise and wellness. Okay, so the minor things. I don't like that it's touchscreen only. Minor things in the watch that are problematic. The touchscreen only thing, if you do get a notification, it's just really small. And so when you first basically get it, you know, it's like you can't read all the information very easily because it really is kind of a small screen. And then the other major thing that I dislike about it is the band itself. So because I am going to like the last on the long band, and obviously I could say, well, I could short, and I can go down to the bottom on the short band. I have all this to shove in here, underneath there. So all that's got to be shoved in against my skin, and it's just like you're like to try to get it in to get a tight fit. So those are the things that about the watch that are sort of annoying. The touchscreen itself, the smallness of the details of the text, so you're not really clearly getting your text as easily, and the fact that it's touchscreen only in the band itself. So let's look at some of the problematic things on what's problematic with the exercise and training. Obviously, you know, in simple terms, that's sleep. That's not where I want to go. The workouts themselves, just, you know, that you just don't get clear information for the rigor of the workout. You obviously can see how much time you spent in peak. So this is, you know, and then the second thing is the heart rate accuracy is not great. So if you take this summary of this app, of this workout, so this is this one for today, and you compare the two, so you can see the heart rate just stayed up, and it looks like it kind of stayed up here, but it had a dip in the middle. The average heart rate wasn't wrong. If you see that peak, that's how much time I spent above 155 beats per minute. And so that's where I usually measure heart rate accuracy. And it, you know, here I spent more time above 161, so I spent considerably more time above 155 beats per minute. So the heart rate is not accurate. You can go to another workout and see that it, you know, didn't quite track. So this is the workout from Friday, and sorry for all the bouncing around, but I just want to show you a couple workouts as they compare to a chest strap. And you can see that you know, there was some lifting in the beginning and Metcon at the end. It was basically my heart rate was just constantly high in that second part, and here it just has a fluctuation. Plus it didn't pick up the lifting portions very accurately, so it doesn't keep up with spikes in a short-term period of time. And then this one didn't even keep up with the workout overall, and obviously the amount of time above 155 beats per minute versus the chest strap was off considerably there. So it's just not accurate. But the more important thing on top of that is that it doesn't connect to a chest strap, and then alongside that, another major important thing is that it doesn't give you any real training metrics besides peak zones. The other thing that we have to look at is the accuracy of the GPS. So you can see a GPS track here, and it is just all over the place for a simple run around my place where I live. So if you look at the actual GPS accuracy, now this is, you know, this is on the Garmin. It's almost exactly like the picture of what I did, just a bunch of loops around the neighborhood, and this one is just way off. And then if you go into another one, see, look, this one is listed as run, and it's, you know, doesn't have any run thing because it never got GPS. It never picked it up in 13 minutes and 53 seconds. The other thing that's weird is that if you look at this run, on the top left, it said I ran 3.12 miles. On an actual GPS, I ran 2.3 miles. So it's like majorly off for a simple run around my neighborhood. Full, you know, like I'm not really like tree cover, I'm not running in downtown, anything. So 2.3 miles and it said I ran 3.1 miles. So that would actually affect how good of a runner. If you look down at the stats, it said my best mile was 7:12. This was a recovery run. I was running super slow, like honestly trying to keep my heart rate down, trying to run at like a 10-minute mile pace. And it's saying I run 7:12, 7:41. Just, I mean, way off, on top of the fact that in these 3 runs up here, it doesn't have GPS tracking. So major problems with the GPS. It is not functional in my opinion. So that is the problems with the training and the exercise. Okay, so now let's look at the major issues with readiness or wellness and recovery. So the biggest thing that I have a problem with is not the accuracy of how much time in each zone, but the accuracy of the sleep score. So if you look at the sleep score at the top, you can see my range of sleep scores, nothing lower than 76 over the last week. Not good. If you look at my range of sleep scores here, you can see Saturday 12, 29 on Thursday, 59 on Wednesday, 57 on Monday, and it's just all highs, you know, the lowest. And this was a week of terrible sleep, just not good. And it's given me good scores, even I'm running on 5 hours and something minutes. I mean, it's just really problematic. It's not accurate. And if this flows into the readiness score that's yet to be released on this, that's a problem. So again, like 70s, 80s, 90s versus, you know, there's a couple of decent sleeps, but 29, 12, 59. And this is similar to like 3 other sleep score systems that I'm tracking on the Apple Watch, 57 on Monday. Just, I didn't get good sleep this week, and it is not reflected if I was a Fitbit only user. So that is a major thing. The other major thing is, you know, the health metrics are sort of generic. They don't really apply to anything that you might be able to have concrete guidance and advice off of. So they're not really telling you what this means relative to, you know, to your overall health and wellness or your recovery. So heart rate variability, it's great that it's tracking it. It's great that it's tracking some of these metrics, but it's not telling you anything that you can take into it. Now, obviously, the heart rate variability will flow into the readiness score, so that will have some value. But overall wellness and recovery, I can't rely on it at all, other than to know that maybe the sleep, you know, how much time I spent in each zone of sleep is worthwhile, but the score is completely not. So that is well. Okay, so there you have it. Let's talk about just a general summary for why I feel like, you know, what the pros, minor pros are, and what all the negatives are if you're training for CrossFit. That's the whole purpose of the FitGear Hunter, is to track devices for training for CrossFit. So in basic summary, it's got a nice small screen, it's got a really pretty screen, and it's got a decent battery life. The battery life, obviously, getting from 2.5 to 3 days with the always on set to medium and timeout delay, as well as medium brightness. But the negatives, the minor negatives first and the major negatives. The minor negatives, I felt like the texts were too small, so you really couldn't see them very clearly. The alerts for like hitting zones, and you can turn some of this stuff off, but the alerts for hitting generic metrics in the middle of the workout, it buzzing, I can't see the stats, that's problematic. And I didn't like that it was a touch screen only. You couldn't always easily control it. And then the band itself drove me crazy. Obviously, if you're charging it basically every 2 days, you know, you're gonna take it on and off relatively regularly. So the band itself just did not feel easy to get on and off. The major negatives, you can't connect it to a chest strap, so you're not gonna get accurate heart rate readings. And on top of it, it just looks like the accuracy is better than some of the other Fitbits, but it's just not accurate. So what you're getting in your, you know, zones is not gonna be accurate. That doesn't matter as much as the fact that there's no real training metrics. So how much time you spent in each zone is interesting for just general health, but it's not valuable workout metrics, and you have no load over time for sure. And then you have the major issue with the GPS being off. You know, the DC Rainmaker, he obviously highlighted it very clearly, very significantly, that if you tighten it like you should to get heart rate accuracy of some level, you will get faulty GPS. And I took it on 2 runs, and it was just problematic in both of them. So the GPS being off makes this a major thing. You can tether it to your phone, so you can use it with your phone and just use your phone's GPS, but that's problematic in today's day and age. You just want to take your watch and go. So the GPS thing is a major thing. It's not a major thing for CrossFitters, not a major thing for me, in my opinion, but it's just a major conceptual thing that is just a problematic. And if you're a general fitness person that wants to run as a regular part of your workouts, that is a major thing. And then the other major thing is the recovery. So obviously, we're going to be getting things like the readiness score. So the readiness score is going to be coming up soon. So, there's two things that were not released in this, when it came out, and that's the ECG testing, which should be coming soon, and a readiness score. And the readiness score takes your last 3 nights of sleep, as well as your heart rate variability over averages versus, recent versus a little bit longer term, to tell you your readiness for the day. I like that idea. Obviously, Whoop has got that down. Garmin does it with the body battery. It's still, it's being used in other watches, but if they take the sleep, then it's going to be the sleep score, it's going to be problematic. So that is a big deal. So you can see how your heart rate variability and your pulse ox and your respiratory rates have changed if you got bad sleep. You can perceive that you might not be in as good of a health from seeing those averages change in recent sleep periods. But the sleep score itself, which is what we kind of could use to depend on for a recovery or readiness in general now, is way off, in my opinion. It is giving me way too good of scores for the sleep, and the toxins I took in this week, not worthwhile. So it's just, those sleep scores just way too big of a variable of accuracy. And if those apply to the readiness score, then that's a major problem. So I think other reviewers that have done super analytical things to evaluate the sleep metrics like deep, light, REM, have found that Fitbit is a reliable source of those, time in each zone. So that's great. It is good at seeing those zones, but if it doesn't flow through to an accurate score, then it's not worthwhile, because that's what we're looking for, is a summary of what that means. So, in all, I think this is a great watch for a general fitness helper. It's got great reminders for drinking water, and obviously if you're logging steps and just general activity, sort of seeing that idea of what zones you're in, to see if you're pushing yourself just to in the cardio versus fat zone or the peak zone, just to see how you're developing your overall fitness. I really do think that the screen is awesome, and that the battery life is awesome for the fact that it can be always on. So I think the solution is a great solution for generic fitness. The heart rate, I feel like, is decent for generic fitness. And so all those things are great, it's just not great for CrossFit. It's just not, it's tragic, that the Fitbit hasn't evolved the more intense training things, or training workouts, that it's really just, the whole platform is really great for somebody that's just doing general fitness. And even the heart rate accuracy not connected to a chest strap, makes all of them sort of not going to work with super high intensity interval training or CrossFit itself. So with that, that's the Figure Hunter. Stay tuned. I'm finishing up the heart rate accuracy testing for the Vertex 2, and hopefully the Whoop 4.0 will be here at some point. But thanks so much for watching.